the last quarter mile. Some nights carry a kind of stillness that feels almost sacred, the kind that makes a person believe nothing bad could ever happen under a sky that calm. September 12, 1883, was one of those nights in Pineville, Missouri, warm and dark and heavy with the smell of late summer grass. Dr. A.W. Chenoweth didn't know it yet, but that stillness was about to be the last thing he ever felt. He'd been at his office longer than he meant to be, the way he always was. There was something about the quiet of an empty office at night that made him linger, papers stacked neatly, the lamp burning low while he told himself just 5 more minutes, just one more thing to finish. When he finally closed the door behind him, he rubbed his eyes and let the tiredness settle into his shoulders, like it belonged there. The buggy waited for him the way it always did, and so did the 2 horses who knew this road better than he did. He climbed up, took the reins out of habit more than necessity, and said the same words he said every night. "Giddy up." The horses started down Neosho Road without needing to be told twice, their pace slow and familiar, carrying him toward the house that sat less than a quarter mile from town. He loved this part of the day more than he ever admitted out loud. There was a peace in it, in the creak of the wheels and the hush of the dark fields on either side. He was tired, but he was almost home, and being almost home has always felt like its own small kind of comfort. Then, without warning, the night broke apart around him. 2 shots rang out at the top of the hill, sharp enough that no one who heard them could mistake it for anything else. A shotgun. The sound cracked through the quiet like something tearing, and it didn't stop at the doctor. It traveled all the way into town, into houses where people were settling in for the night, into the ears of a boy named Link, who was waiting for his father to come home. The horses didn't understand what had happened. They kept walking the way they always did, the buggy rattling along behind them, empty now in a way that didn't make sense until someone looked closer. Link stepped out onto the porch when he heard the shots, the way anyone would, a small ache of worry already curling in his chest before he even had a reason for it. When the horses came into view, without his father holding the reins, that worry became something else entirely. He ran. He ran down that road faster than he'd ever run in his life, his heart slamming against his ribs with every step, praying he was wrong about what his gut was already telling him. He wasn't wrong. His father lay in the road, still and broken in a way that no child should ever have to see, and the sound that came out of Link when he found him was the kind of sound that doesn't fade from a town's memory for a long, long time. People came running. Women wept in the road, their hands pressed over their mouths like they could hold the horror in if they just tried hard enough. Grief has a way of spreading like that, moving from one person to the next until an entire town is carrying the same broken weight. By morning, the investigation had already begun, though most people in Pineville felt like they already knew where it would lead. Dr. Chenoweth had spent years standing firmly on the side of temperance, and that kind of conviction doesn't come without enemies, especially in a county where plenty of men made their living pouring liquor into glasses, legal or otherwise. One name kept surfacing above the rest: Garland A. Mann. Mann had never been quiet about his feelings toward the doctor. He'd made threats before, the kind that people remember later when something terrible finally happens. He ran a saloon in Pineville and was widely believed to be selling liquor without the proper license, which put him directly at odds with everything Chenoweth stood for. There was more to it too, a wound that ran deeper than politics. Mann blamed the doctor for a denied pension claim, one he believed Chenoweth had a hand in as a member of the pension board. From that point on, every disappointment in Mann's life seemed to find its way back to one man's name. He was arrested the very next day, and the whole town seemed to exhale at once, as if an answer had finally arrived to soothe a wound still too raw to touch. What followed was a legal battle that dragged on for years, long enough to wear down anyone caught in its grip. The trial moved out of McDonald County and into Newton County, and Mann reportedly sold off much of what he owned just to keep paying his lawyers. The first trial happened in April of 1884, ending the way so many difficult cases do, with a jury who couldn't agree and a judge who had no choice but to call a mistrial in early May. A second trial came in August, and this time the jury reached a verdict: guilty. Mann was sentenced to hang, a sentence that felt final until the Missouri Supreme Court stepped in and reversed it, sending the whole thing spinning back into uncertainty. By May of 1885, a third trial had come and gone, and once again the jury couldn't find their way to agreement. Another mistrial, another delay, A fourth trial was set for August, and by then, the town's patience had worn dangerously thin. People who had loved the doctor, who had watched his son grieve, who had carried this unresolved ache for nearly 2 years, started to believe that justice was never going to come through the courtroom. So, on the night of the 6th of August, roughly 150 of them decided to take it into their own hands, unwilling to wait any longer for a system that kept failing them. They marched to the jail in Neosho with a kind of grim determination that comes from exhaustion more than rage. When they demanded the keys to Man's cell, the jailer, Sam Cotter, told them he didn't have them. It didn't matter. The mob broke the door down themselves, and when they finally reached Man, he fought for his life with everything he had left in him. However, it wasn't enough. Shots rang out again, fired by men whose names would never be spoken publicly, and when it was over, Man had been shot 6 times. There's a question that still lingers over Pineville, one that time never quite managed to answer. Did Man, in fact, kill Dr. Albert White Chenoweth? Years later, one of the attorneys involved in the case claimed that Man had written and signed a confession at some point, only for another one of his own lawyers to destroy it, convinced he could still win an acquittal for his client. There was one more thread left hanging. In October of 1884, a man named A.M. Dillon was arrested as an accessory to the murder. He stood trial at the McDonald County Courthouse and was found not guilty, which meant that whatever truth existed behind that night on Neosho Road went into the ground along with the men who might have known it. Pineville moved forward the way small towns always do, quietly and without much choice in the matter. Lincoln, Link, Curtis Chenoweth grew older, carrying a memory that never fully let go of him, the sound of 2 shotgun blasts forever tangled up with the image of his father lying still in the dirt. The road itself stayed exactly where it had always been, curving up that same hill past the same fields, and anyone who walked it in the years that followed couldn't help but think of the doctor and the horses that carried him home one last time, faithful right up until the very end. Some stories never really finish. They just settle into the land and wait for someone to remember them.